everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CUNY Uncut, where we talk about anything and everything, uncensored, unedited, and uncut. And as a reminder, if you're looking to fill out an application to be the next host of CUNY Uncut and sit in this very seat and talk to CUNY students and alumni from across the CUNY system, the application is now live. You just need to be a CUNY student, undergraduate student, majoring in media, journalism, marketing, communications, or really any other related field. If you'd like to submit an application, it'll be on bit.ly/CUNY Uncut Apply. Make sure to get your application in by March 31st. But today we have a very interesting interview planned. We are going to be talking to two board members of Baruch College's Dominican Students Association, ASEDOM. We have the president, Adrian, who's a senior majoring in business communications and a transfer from BMCC, of course. And we are going to speak to ASEDOM's secretary, Karla Fernandez, who is a senior in business communications. She's also the conference director of the new Baruch Quisqueyan Conference, a day of celebration and education of Dominican heritage. Without further ado, welcome to the two of you.
Thank you so much for that introduction.
Of course. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I'm so excited to hear more about this conference because I know that it's a very new thing for you guys and you're trying out a couple different things. But first, I want to know a little bit more about your organization in ASEDOM. Adrian, I'd like to start with you. What is ASEDOM?
So ASEDOM is really the Dominican culture organization here at Baruch, but we're more than just a culture club. We're more like a sense of home for students who feel like they've either came from DR or from families who came from DR and migrated over here. We are more of an organization trying to help people feel more at home in the sense of when they feel like they don't really have people, they could come to us, eat food with us, enjoy the music with us, learn more about the culture. But besides just trying to have fun, we also try to give back to the community. We also do like fundraising events, and we're also trying to push the narrative of Dominicans being professional as well. So we do a lot of collaborations with bigger corporate professionals, and we also like take visits. Like the other day, we went to Washington D.C. So it's all around. It's the Dominican Culture Club, but we do more than just teach about our culture.
Wow, that's wonderful, and I like to see that you're really trying to do more than just embracing the culture and trying to implement different types of things into that. Tell me about your visit to D.C. Karla, how was that for you?
Oh my gosh, it was so surreal. Like, it was personally my first time ever being in Washington, D.C. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 9, so I've been living here for about 12, 13 years now. But it feels so weird to go to different states and experience the life there and the lifestyle as well, or even just the foods. It was so cool. We went for the Dominicans on the Hill Conference, which is hosted by Congressman Adrian Beckles. This is their 8th annual one, and their focus was specifically on medicine and healthcare, which I know right now where we currently live, or at least in our current social and political climate, that is a big topic, specifically with like healthcare, Medicaid, all that other stuff. But it was really cool to get to talk to different politicians, Congress people. We saw a bunch of other like famous people there as well from like reality shows, like La Casa de los Foque was one of them. We saw a few like singers that we all grew up listening to probably like on a Saturday, on a Sunday morning when our parents wanted to like cook or they wanted to clean the house. But just being there and being able to advocate for what we do, what we stand for on our campus, getting to have that cross collaboration and also networking as well, and even having, because we all had underclassmen and non-ASEDOM members present as well, just having them, experience that, dip their toes in that water, really see what they wanted to do and give them that opportunity. Like how Adrian said, we are very big on giving back. That to me was like the biggest thing. I'm a senior and, have a job lined up. I've done a few internships in the past. I have a few things under my belt. So right now I'm at the point where I'm mainly just reflecting. It's a little bittersweet, but I just want to give back as much as I can with I don't want to be that person, but with the younger generation or like the underclassmen that are coming up.
Hey, that's what you got to do. We got 3 seniors sitting at the table,
right,
talking about the future and how to, help CUNY build on what we've kind of put foundations down for them for.
Yes.
Adrian, how do you guys kind of decide what types of things and what types of professional things you want to give back to your club and your community?
So that's an amazing question. And honestly, it's with our group being so big and diverse, when our skill sets, like we have a total team right now of about 25 members, and we each have like either separate roles or like more like team roles. So we do have our professional development team, which consists of Scarlett, Avril, Lisbeth, and myself as well, where we kind of talk to different professionals and try to align opportunities, not only for ourselves, of course, but to other people. And like how Karla said as well, we don't only give those opportunities to our board members, but to other people who show interest in the team, who fill out the forms, and who actually show genuine interest and wanted to better themselves as well. And then we also, with doing so, we kind of build off on the connections we make along the way. So I believe about a year ago, we had an event called Café con Leche, where we had a panelist come. I believe his name was Alexander. And with the connection with him, he was also one of the main people who was able to bring us to Washington, D.C., and also bring us aboard a float to be a sponsor for the Dominican parade in Manhattan.
Oh, that must have been so much fun.
It was amazing.
That's the type of thing that you do in college. You try and find your way to clubs and organizations, but I know it can be tricky at first. Karla, what was your experience in getting involved originally with ASEDOM?
Oh my gosh, that's actually such a funny story, and it's ironic that Adrian is sitting next to me. So little backstory, when I started college, my freshman year, I was struggling academically, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I wasn't as involved in club life, extracurriculars, nothing of the sort. That wasn't in my radar. It wasn't until my summer before my sophomore year, I'm a SEEK student, so I was able to work with the SEEK program. I was a student leader, so I worked very closely with like the counselors and the other peer mentors, and through that experience, I was able to kind of dip my toes into different roles in e-board positions, in extracurricular activities, fellowships, things of that nature. And I had always known about ASEDOM since my freshman year. I remember I went to a few of their events. I went to their Carnaval event, which has been a tradition for us since 1992, which was when we first got instated on campus. And it was so much fun. Like, I remember loving it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this are my people. This is my community. Sophomore year, I didn't really know much of what they were doing. I was kind of just doing my own thing. I wasn't paying too much mind. But it wasn't until the spring semester that I was like, you know what? I want to be more intentional about what I want to do. Because, when you're a sophomore, you want to do everything under the sun. Mm-hmm. And you don't learn the value of quality over quantity. So that was very much my case. I just wanted to do everything. I wasn't being intentional. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. So now that I knew, I'm like, okay, I want to work something on a more cultural sense or in a more cultural lens. I'm like, okay, let me go and apply to be an ASEDOM member. I applied to be specifically on community outreach, which is essentially where you have what Adrian was saying about cross collaboration, talking to different clubs, do work on sponsorships, pitching event ideas of that nature. I ended up getting the position. Me and Adrian were actually supposed to work together, so that's kind of how we got introduced to each other, via text when they made the group chat. I, at the time, was also training to be the next digital director for another initiative that I work for on campus. It's called the Initiative for the Study of Latin America, or ISLA for short. And I did not know how much work went into that until I was actually in the forefront of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much work to take in that I wanted to give it my all. And I had told the president at the time, Jen, I was like, listen, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to step down. I will always listen, like the ISLA, because ISLA and ASEDOM have been very close collaborators. So I'm like, the door is always open. If you need any support, we're always here. And Adrian, when he finally met me in person, he was like, wait, you were supposed to be with me? We were supposed to work together? You left me by myself. It was a whole thing. And he did not let me forget it for, I want to say, like a cool 6 months.
I still don't.
For a cool 6 months, he did not let me forget it. But at least, that year I got to see from an outsider's perspective just how much ASEDOM, specifically with Jen's team, was able to change the dynamic and the narrative of what ASEDOM was. ASEDOM, I want to say in prior years, especially after the pandemic, it was known as just to be a party club. Like, oh, if you wanted to go play dominoes, you would pull up to the ASEDOM suite like that. But it was never anything deeper than that. Like we did events where we showed people like Dominican movies, things that and the third, but it was never anything more than just that. So then seeing from an outsider's perspective, how much Jen and her team were able to change that narrative to like how Adrian was saying, having philanthropic events, fundraising events, professional development events, something that they had never done before, and the impact that they were able to have and the love that they received from the community back afterwards was so immense that I'm just like, wow, I love that you guys are able to do that. I love the collaboration, the opportunities that you want to give to so many students, Dominican and non-Dominican, that I essentially applied at the end of my junior year to be secretary. And here we are today. Now I'm working with Adrian as president.
Wow, yes. What a wonderful story. And I know that If you're in a club in CUNY, which so many people
Oh
are,
my
and so many people at
gosh.
home, you're watching, you're in a club, you know how much work it is. You know how hard it can be. So I completely hear you on that, and I'm happy that you spun back and you ended up, working together now. But Adrian, I know for you that the story was a little bit different after coming over from BMCC
Yes.
to really incorporate yourself in Baruch's culture and specifically with ASEDOM. How did you get involved?
So, as you know, I'm a transfer student from BNCC, and I was actually on the baseball team there. So, I actually had a friend who I met through playing the baseball. I was the pitcher, he was the catcher. His name he goes by Jerry, but his name is Gerardo. We ended up both graduating at the same time into Baruch, but we didn't really communicate what school we was going to. It wasn't until I was walking on the plaza or like the lobby area, and I was thinking to myself, man, I really feel like I don't really have much people here. I wish I had more friends or like a sense of home here. Doing that same thought, I looked up and it was like a beam of light where Jerry was just standing there. And then we started talking, and then he started telling me about this club that Dominican students are in, and they host events, and they seem like a pretty cool group. I was like, okay, I'm gonna, think about it. And then he ended up dragging me to their event, Carnaval, where I met the previous president and CUNY Outreach and the rest of the team. I think the way you pronounce her name is Alegna. And then she kind of not offered me, but told me that I should apply for the community outreach role, that I would make a good addition to the team. And it wasn't until then where I started talking to more people, speaking to people of my culture, and learning more about it as well. Because even though I was born here, the rest of my family was born over there. So I am a first generation student, but I wasn't too tapped in with my culture. It wasn't until I met ASEDOM where I feel like I was more tapped in a sense. But I would say definitely I have to give the props to their previous president of last year, but the year before, Alegna and Jerry, for introducing me to ASEDOM.
That's wonderful that you were able to kind of find a sense of home on campus and really, embrace your culture in different ways. And Adrian, I want to stick with you and kind of shifting the way that this club was viewed on campus and around the city, just in terms of what you guys were trying to do in terms of changing things to more professional style events. I've seen photos of you, just doing my research of you, in a full suit at a baseball practice with BMCC and stuff like that. So I know that you guys care so much about being professional.
Mm-hmm. We wanted to give the narrative that Dominicans are more than just the party group, that we're more than just loud. We want to give the narrative that we could be professional, we could have corporate jobs, we could also be businessmen and women. So in doing so, I feel like the first thing you have to do is kind of look the part. Me being a student, the baseball field that you were referring to is I was giving a speech along with Jerry to the younger crowd on how teamwork can really mean a lot, going further, and being part of a team is more than just playing the sport. Granted, I could have just went in a baseball uniform or a jersey or a regular T-shirt, but in my opinion, when it comes to being professional, you have to look the part before you speak the talk.
Yeah.
Because when you're walking up to someone, the first thing they look at is the way you dress.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to come off a certain way, you have to think about how you're gonna dress. So me and Jerry decided suits were the best option of that course.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I mean, now I feel bad that I'm not all dolled up and everything, but get you a friend like Jerry, for real.
No, definitely.
But I think that kind of pulls us right into the conference, the Quisqueyan Conference, where you guys are focusing on more than just the partying. You're doing more professional things. I know that you have a huge lineup. So, Karla, I know that you're the program director for this. Tell me what is this conference and what's your goal?
Thank you so much. I feel like now I'm about to really start yapping about my craft. But also props to you for saying Quisqueyan properly. Listen, you're Dominican Bar Association. Let's just say it there. If you do a 23andMe, don't be surprised if we're cousins. But so the conference, essentially, the Baruch Quisqueyan Conference, is a one-day initiative on Friday, March 27th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's going to happen on Baruch's Newman Vertical Campus, or the NVC building, how we know it. And it's supposed to be a one-day initiative filled with fireside chats, workshops, different opportunities to network, as well as exposure to mentorship. There's going to be a small business showcase towards the end of the day, as well as closing it out with a, cultural dance night or a dance party, if you will. But essentially the mission that we're trying to have with this is to empower and educate, as well as uplift the next generation of Dominican and non-Dominican students as well. Like how Adrian was mentioning, we tend to grow up with this narrative that Dominicans are only good for one thing, that we are a monolith, we are a one-size-fits-all type of culture, type of people, where that is not at all the case. We are engineers, we are innovators, we are dreamers, we are so much more than what our communities give us credit for. And this conference is essentially for us to prove that to them. Because I feel like it's one thing to hear it, but it's one thing to know it and understand it and like live within that truth. So in the workshops that we're gonna have 6 different workshops, all ranging in different topics. So we have financial literacy, corporate leadership, STEM, civic engagement, entrepreneurship, social media, like all of that, because these are all, we have to look into the demographic for college students that we have at Baruch and what they're really interested in, as well as other CUNY schools as well. I know you're a Hunter student, so I know like Hunter is very big on like social studies, history, all of that. So we want to make sure that we can include that in there as well to make it inclusive, because although Baruch is known to be a notorious like finance, accounting, business heavy school, me being a business comm major myself, you know, we want to be open to everybody. We want to give and bring in different Dominicans that work in these fields and have them talk about their experiences, not just about, you know, how they got to where they are, but how does their Dominican identity play a role into the spaces that they're coming into, and how we as the next generation can do the very same. Because to open up that door and to hear from somebody that has been in similar spaces as us, whether they were CUNY students or not, I think it's super, super impactful. And creating that space, creating that community where people can feel uplifted, again, even in the times that we're living in right now in our social political climate where, you know, community and support feel very, very scarce. If it's scary to ask for it, it's scary to seek it out. This conference is essentially supposed to bring that and to help build that for the next students. And also, we want to hopefully invite, because we want to invite non-Dominican students as well. We recognize that, you know, I grew up in the Bronx and I had a lot of Mexican friends. I myself am not Mexican, but I have that proximity to the culture because of them and the friendships that I had. The same thing could be said about so many different people in New York City as a whole, not even New York State. So we recognize that, and that's how we open up the floor to anybody. We have a lot of cultural clubs on campus, specifically on Baruch, and you know, maybe they themselves have had the same idea. They wanted to bring something similar to the campus, but they just didn't know how. I want them to be able to go to the conference and be like, wow, I like this, but I want to make it for my own group. This is how I want to tailor it for my own community. And then hopefully in like a year or two time, we can start seeing more conferences. We can start seeing more exposure to these different opportunities, to mentorship, everything. Like, that's what I want. I'm doing it as a way to leave a legacy, to leave, of course, my own like footprint behind, but to help build that foundation to catapult the next generation to something bigger and better.
That's really wonderful, and I'm so happy to see that you're embracing everybody in CUNY, not just Baruch students. Because hey, I mean, I want to go, like, yeah, and I'm not Dominican.
You got an invitation. Don't worry.
I appreciate that, and so does the rest of CUNY, which is really wonderful as well. So I'm happy to see that it's all welcoming, and that also just speaks levels to your culture and how welcoming you guys are, just in general. But for Adrian, how did you guys get the inspiration to even do a conference like this? Where did this come from?
So actually, funny enough, I have to give credit to Karla, because he actually came to me speaking about this conference. I believe it was in Yale. They had their annual conference, but a lot of people from ASEDOM, a lot of the females from ASEDOM, and Karla, I believe you went as well. They went and they had an amazing experience. And I remember they came back and they were speaking about it. And then Karla and a few other individuals, mainly Karla though, had the bright idea, let's have our own conference here at Baruch and invite other people and do it like in our way, in a sense of trying to give back not only to people who couldn't go, but to other people who didn't even know about it as well. Honestly, without her, this wouldn't have been a possibility.
Wow.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's really wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about this conference. Like, what was that experience like for you, and what really drew your attention to it?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, I got to give props to Jen every single chance that I get. She was the president last year, right before Adrian. She, I remember, had invited me alongside Avril, who's our current president, and then Lisbeth. She's our current professional development director. We went to Yale for a 4-day conference, and very similar to how we want to do it, they had different workshops allocated to Dominicans in different fields. So I remember it was like Dominicans in medicine, in politics, in mathematics, like really niche communities that not a lot of students get exposure to, as well as fireside chats with more famous people. So like David Ortiz or Big Papi, the baseball player, was there. Marcelo Hernandez from SNL, he was super cool. And then Jess Judith, or Jessica Judith, she is a very famous influencer. But like the Yale students were very, very welcoming. It was for the National Dominican Students Conference, or NDSC. Theirs was founded in 2007 by, again, it was all student led. It was founded by Dominican students, where they felt like they didn't have that community. They didn't have, let's say, like an ASEDOM during that time. And since then, they were able to build it and make it into something bigger. Last year was their first conference, I believe, since 2021. Like, they had taken a bit of a hiatus, so they brought it back, and they brought it back tenfold, because the turnout was amazing. The way everything was laid out was very intentional, I feel like. And it wasn't just us or even Yale students. It was students from other different colleges as well. Like, I remember, like, Columbia was there.
Wow.
Brown. It was like Boston College. So many. But despite it being as amazing as it was, one thing that Genesis and the girls and I, we noticed were like that we were the only CUNY students there. It was like 5 of us total in a sea of like 150 plus attendees that were there. Yeah. Like, I don't think there was any even alum, nothing of the sort. So while we felt very wide-eyed, curious, and motivated to want to bring this or to want to create something similar, we had to bring it into CUNY. Just because we recognized that there's such a large population of Latinx students in CUNY schools, specifically Dominican, like let's say at Baruch, and we understand the communities that we serve. Up until this point, the foundation that Jen and her team are building was already gaining a lot of momentum. It was getting a lot of presence, a lot of eyes on them. So we wanted to take advantage of that and bring it into something bigger and give them something that for us is our love letter to them for all the love and support that they had given us up until this point. And finally now, we have a budget, we have a date, we have a time and location. Right now it's just the matter of confirming who's going to come. So David,
I'll get my people.
Listen,
I'll get my people.
Get your people. I got your invitation. Don't worry about it. But it's just about bringing it home and making sure that we have an amazing conference. This is our first ever that I know of that Baruch has ever done something like this. So it brings me a lot of pride. It brings me a lot of joy to say that this is something that I'm bringing to the community. This is something that I'm bringing to ASEDOM and to Baruch. But again, I wouldn't have been able to do it had it not been for Jen giving me that. She didn't even have to. I wasn't a part of the team, but she gave me that invitation to go with them at Yale. And from that experience alone, from that invitation that she gave me, that idea grew into something much bigger. And
you're bringing it to the best city in the world, where listen, I think it's safe to say that there's a bigger Dominican population in New York than in Yale.
Yes.
So, I'm happy that you're bringing it home, But for Adrian, how did you and the rest of the team figure out what to call this thing? Was the same, I don't think that conference in Yale was the same as this one. What's the background behind the Quisqueyan name?
There was a bunch of different names that we were thinking about. Karla, you mind helping me out? Like, what was some of the other names that we were thinking of?
We were looking at we were trying to make an acronym at one point. We were saying Baruch, Hispaniola conference. It was so many. I can't even begin to think because it was so long ago. But Quisqueyan specifically, because Quisqueya is the nickname of the island, which has Taino roots. That the Taino were the indigenous group in the Dominican Republic that first inhabited it there. And we have a lot of history from that. So the name Quisqueya, it holds a lot of power, holds a lot of historical context that we wanted to bring into this conference. We wanted to bring to Baruch because not a lot of students know about that. And this is just a way, to teach them, but also to honor our ancestors.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a little bit more about diving into your Dominican heritage and culture and how you're really looking to now incorporate this into the conference. Adrian?
So one way we're gonna incorporate it is we're like Karla said, at the end of the business aspect of it, we're gonna have more not a party thing, but more music, and I believe we're gonna have a DJ as well towards the end of the day. I believe at 6, right, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. We're gonna have more a party-ish in the NPR, I believe, right? Where we're gonna be playing music and kind of bringing in more of the culture and a sense of okay, we could be professional, but we could also have a little bit of fun on the side. So we're gonna have music, food, a DJ, and kind of incorporate everyone to be more coming in together more as a family, and to let people know hey, you could be professional in the daytime, but the nighttime you can have some fun as well.
Of course. And Karla, let's kind of go through the day. What do you have lined up so far, and what are you most excited for?
So the ceremony starts at 9 a.m. in the morning. At 9:30, we have the opening ceremony where we'll have Adrian and Avril giving a president MVP speech. Then we'll have me and Jen, because Jen, of course, we got to pay a lot of love to her. We're going to bring her back. She's going to be doing a speech with me to talk about where this conference came from, what was the inspiration, why we wanted to bring it. And then we're going to have a keynote speaker, which I'm not going to say who it is. It's a little surprise, but we're going to have a keynote speaker giving a speech about Dominican excellence and what it means to advocate for your communities and get to the places that you're in. Afterwards, we're going to have our first round of the workshops. We are going to send a survey a few weeks prior just to kind of gauge the interest of students and try to see, okay, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to corporate leadership? Do you want to go to Dominicans in STEM? Just kind of giving them that autonomy to choose rather than us choosing for them. So they're going to go. We have 6 different classrooms allocated for there. They're going to go have their Q&A type of sessions with the panelists that we'll have there and open up that door for questions, networking, etc. Afterwards, we're going to have our fireside chat number 1, which is Digital Dominicanidad, which is essentially supposed to target like youth and like storytelling, specifically in the youth and in social media. So we're bringing in a content creator to have a conversation about that and to talk about his goals and how he was able to overcome so many of the challenges that he's faced up until this day and how his Dominican identity has played a huge role in that.
Would I know him?
I don't know. His name is Eduardo Holguin. He was in Forbes 30 Under 30 just last year alongside Jessica Yuli. He works at L'Oreal, and he's super, super cool.
Wow. I think I have heard of that name. He's pretty famous on TikTok, isn't he? Okay,
Yeah, no,
wonderful.
he's pretty cool. I did not think he was going to get back to me via email, so I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Hey, shoot your shot.
Yeah, no, literally. And then, after that, we're going to have some lunch. Of course, we got to have some Dominican food. So, like, rice, beans, meat. See, you already know. You're in soon.
Yo,
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Yes,
I'm so
of course.
But what we got lined up?
Yes, like, listen, those are just a few of the things that we have. Then afterwards, after the lunch period, we're going to have, again, second sessions of workshop, which is this time you get to go to a different one. Of course, we're going to send the surveys to see what people want to do. But this is so just that we can diversify the crowds a little bit more. And we give people different chances to explore. Some people might know what they want to do, but there's also other people who may not know what they want to do, especially post-grad. So this is an opportunity to give them that. Then a second fireside chat, which will center, since it's March and it's Women's History Month, we are going to have our speakers specifically talk about what it means to be a Dominican woman, a woman of color, overcoming so many challenges, especially being an immigrant coming from the Dominican Republic to then assimilate to a culture that is so different from your own, and kind of giving that an empowering message, not just to the women in the audience, but also to the men, to people that are non-binary, anybody that doesn't necessarily like identify with that, and giving them that space. Just because, of course, we got to pay homage to Women's History Month, and given that like a lot of the women on the team are women, a lot of the people on the team are women too. Then after that, we're going to have the Small Business Showcase, which we're going to have entrepreneurs from Baruch and outside of Baruch just showcasing their businesses, whether that's apparel, food, jewelry, etc. Does not matter. And they're able to sell their product and also networking with different people. And then lastly, we're going to have a dance night, like how Adrian was saying. We're going to have a DJ from our own campuses, like the radio station. And we want to make it very like countryside, like campo style, rather than like, like the typical like unce or like dembow type of style. We want to keep it very traditional. We want to keep it very intentional. But again, because the whole day you're going to be in your networking, in your suits, everything, we want to make sure that you have your time to relax, unwind, of course, be within the people and learn about our music, how we dance, everything. And that is how we will close it out. But the part that I'm mostly looking forward to are the fireside chats, just because I'll be conducting one of them. The other one, I won't say who will be conducting them, but I'll be conducting one of them and getting one-on-one with the other person, the other guest that I have, and doing it in front of everybody in the conference room, just so that they get to know them on a personal level, rather than just like, okay, so this is what I do, da-da-da, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, that sounds wonderful. That sounds so exciting. However, listen, I'm a Hunter student. I don't know my way around. Adrian, how am I supposed to know where to go?
So we're going to be posting a lot of videos. We're going to have a marketing team. We actually do have another Instagram going up for the conference itself. During those videos, we're going to instruct everyone about the layout of the school and how to walk around the campus, of course, and how to get to certain places. And we might even have a few of our staff or students to be in certain areas to kind of direct people, because as a transfer student, I know how confusing Baruch can be to navigate every now and then. So don't worry, we won't let anyone get lost.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so happy that you guys have had this all planned out. It seems like it's all very elaborate, and it's going to be such a wonderful time. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time today to explain it to us and getting us excited for this conference.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the invitation.
And when is it going to be again?
Friday, March 27th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for coming in today. Karla, of
Thank
course.
you.
Thank you both for being here. And guys, make sure to check them out on social media. It'll be at ASEDOM Baruch and at Baruch Quisqueyan Conference on Instagram as well. So make sure to check them out. In addition, make sure to check out CUNY Uncut on social media and make sure to download the CUNY TV app. And as always, I'm your host, David Horn, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.